What's up, guys? Today we got the Galaxy S20 FE versus the new Galaxy S22 Ultra here. So if you have an S20 FE and you're just a casual user, you most likely do not need to upgrade. From what I'm seeing, you still have a lot of the same stuff that you have on the Ultra, but there are some significant differences, and it really comes down to, do you want to upgrade to a more premium device? And it's going to be a hefty price tag if you decide to do that. But of course, you guys, they have trade-ins and all that stuff, so you kind of have to go over that. So let's actually just go over what are the differences between these two phones, and let's see if you need the more premium Ultra phone here. So the S20 FE is actually an excellent phone, right now. It's an older flagship, not really that much older, but you can find it for around like maybe $300 to $400. I'll put the link down below. The Ultra is going to cost you $1,200 for the base model here. So as we can see, the designs are actually a little bit different in terms of materials. So you have a full glass and metal design on the S22, and then on the S20 you actually have a metal railings, but this has a plastic back. It still has a nice kind of premium feeling, but when you pick this one up, you'll know, like, obviously this one, it feels more expensive and it looks a little bit more expensive as well. So that is also one thing that you'll notice. As you can see, the updated camera module kind of comes down to personal preference, but I do like the cleaner look of the S22 Ultra here. But overall, designs are pretty nice. This phone is, the S22 Ultra is much heavier, and it's definitely a little bit taller as well too. So that is also something that you are going to note. And as far as the hardware, pretty much the same setup, but you do have now a stylus on the S22 Ultra as well. So you have that built-in stylus now. They both have stereo speakers, which we will get into as well. Alright, so next is going to be the displays here. So display part is pretty interesting. So the S20 FE has a smaller 6.5 inch display. It's a 1080p panel, and it is a Super AMOLED panel at 120 Hz with HDR10 plus. Has an 84.8% screen to body ratio. It's a 1080p 407 for the PPI. Now the S22 has a dynamic AMOLED display, also 120 Hz HDR10 plus. This is a 6.8 inch display, 1440p 500 for the PPI, with a max brightness of 1750 nits. So off the bat, you can see that the S20 FE is a flat display, which a lot of people prefer. And then you can see the S22 Ultra has a curved display, which it depends on. Some people like it, some people don't. They both have punch holes in the middle as well too. But as you can see, the S22 Ultra has much thinner screen to body ratio. It's around 90%, and you can kind of see that. The S20 FE has bigger bezels, but as far as screen quality, they both look pretty good, and I love that the S20 FE got the 120 Hz. Now, yes, can you tell the difference between a 1080p panel versus a 1440p panel? Yes, if you do look up closely, you can tell the difference. You can pretty much tell the difference with text and icons and everything. It's not that the S20 FE has a bad display by any means. It's just that the S22 Ultra kind of has like a crystal clear, kind of sharp look when you look up close. But at this distance, they pretty much look the same. So, and also, if you pull up like a 1440p video versus a 1080p, you can tell the slight difference. There's a little bit more detail there. But overall, the S20 FE's display is really nice. It's got the 120 Hz. And also, the S22 FE is going to be slightly brighter outdoors in this phone. But like I said, these are all really minor things, because just the displays by themselves, the S20 FE is perfectly fine for a normal person. There's really, you have to really want like the slimmer bezels, you have to want the 1440p, you have to really want all that stuff, but it's not, really necessary. Alright, so let's talk about these specs a little bit more. The S20 FE has Android 12, One UI 4, Snapdragon 865, and Adreno 650 GPU CPU combo, and then you have micro SD card support on this phone, 128 gigs of internal storage and 6 gigs of RAM. The S22 Ultra is running the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chip, Adreno 730, no SD card support on this phone, 128 gigs of internal storage and 8 gigs of RAM. So as you can see, kind of that big difference there with storage. Now, you do get more RAM on this base model, but you get more storage in general because you have the SD card support. So for people who like to take a lot of video or download a lot of content, you're going to be missing that on the S22 Ultra. So you might have to go up to the, the higher end configuration, which can get, even pricier. So take that into consideration as well too. And as far as the software features go, you're pretty much getting about the same thing. You have the reverse wireless power sharing on both of these devices. The secure folders is on both of these devices. Samsung desktop support is on both of these devices. Pretty much everything is on here. NFC is on both of these guys as well. So you're not really missing out on anything as far as the software experience goes. Now this phone will get longer, obviously have a longer update cycle as well too. So keep that in mind if you're really pressed about having the latest software on your phone. Also, just to go back to speed, is there a big difference between the 865 chip and the Gen 1 chip? On benchmarks, people will say, but in real life, if you are just somebody like casual user, opening applications, these phones do a really good job. It's not like it's lagging all over the place. The 120 hertz is super smooth on both. So, for the normal person, you won't really notice a speed difference. They both do a really good job as far as performance. They're pretty much still on par with each other, and they're even able to play games really great too. The S20 FE is an excellent gaming phone, and I would honestly say just a really good deal for a gamer because you can get it in that $300 to $400 price range, and it can pretty much play anything at the max settings as well. So that's always something that I've really appreciated as well. Now, like I was saying, both phones do a pretty good job. I do have a gaming test on both the Exynos model and the Snapdragon model of the S20 FE, so you guys can check that out. But just believe me that you're not really getting a huge upgrade in terms of gaming performance. This phone does a phenomenal job with the Snapdragon 865 chipset. So that is one thing that I've been impressed with. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the additional features here. So both of these phones have an IP rating, which is really nice. So you can get these phones wet and they won't break immediately. And also, they both have in-display fingerprint sensors, which work pretty well. I haven't had an issue. They pretty much feel the same. The only difference is the S20 FE is kind of more towards the bottom. And I kind of like the way they did it up here. Like this one is more up here. So, but essentially they're both the same. And you also have face unlock if you want to skip out on the fingerprint scanner altogether. So let's go ahead and check out the speakers. All right, we're going to start with the S22 Ultra. Alright, so the S22 Ultra does sound a little bit louder. It has just slightly a little bit more bass than the S20 FE here. So I think the speakers are just a little bit better on here. Yeah, they are just a tad bit better. And Dolby Atmos is on both of these. So yes, the speakers are just a little bit better here. Let's talk about the cameras, because this is really where Samsung is trying to sell, older Galaxy users on the camera. So you may not need all the bells and whistles. It really comes down to, do you take a lot of photos and what type of photos you take. So the S22 Ultra has a 108 megapixel lens on here, so it gives you some super sharp detailed shots. 10 megapixel periscope telephoto lens that does 10x optical zoom, and then a 10 megapixel telephoto lens that does 3x optical zoom, and then a 13 megapixel ultra wide as well too. This phone can go up to 100 times zoom as well, and then you also have a macro mode on here as well. It can shoot in 8K 24, and then you have a 40 megapixel selfie cam. that shoots in 4K 60. So as you can see, very specced out camera on the S22 Ultra. Now on the S20 FE, we do have a 12 megapixel standard, 8 megapixel telephoto. It has 3x optical zoom, and then we have our 12 megapixel ultra wide on here, and then we can shoot in 4K 60. It's able to go up to 30 times zoom as well too. And you do have a 32 megapixel selfie cam on here that also shoots in 4K 60. So obviously the big difference is you have more cameras on the S22 Ultra. So let's go ahead and get into the side-by-side stills, and I'll show you guys the video as well too. And let me know, do you guys see a difference in image quality? Here's the S22 Ultra in 0.6. S20 FE. Alright, so lastly, let's discuss battery life. Honestly, the S20 FE does a pretty good job with battery life. It feels like they both are kind of on par. If you might get a little bit more screen on time, but I don't think it's worth upgrading for that because the batteries are actually pretty close in size. So the S20 FE has a 4,500 milliamp battery, and you have a 5,000 milliamp battery on the S22 Ultra. So there is like a minor difference here, which could be important to you. The S22 Ultra does 45 watt charging, and the S20 does 25 watts. So this phone can charge up much faster than this one can. That's also something to take into consideration. They both actually do wireless charging and reverse wireless charging as well. So I feel like for screen on time, you're not getting that much better of battery life with this phone. So I wouldn't necessarily upgrade just for the extra battery because I really don't think it's that much better. So that's pretty much it. Like I said, if you're thinking about upgrading, you really want to upgrade for the camera. So you really need to make sure that you're somebody that's going to be taking a lot of photos. If you're not taking a lot of photos, I don't think you really need to upgrade. I don't think it's necessary. Or if you're somebody that's going to be using the stylus, let's say you're into digital artwork or something like that, and you just want to draw on your phone, or if you're somebody that you see yourself using this just to navigate with, if you just want to navigate your phone with a stylus. So it really comes down to, you know, what type of person you are. So you got to kind of make your decision based off of that. So be sure to let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.